Your word tells us that no one has greater love than this, than one who's willing to lay down their life for a friend. Today we remember those represented on the field in front of us and the thousands upon thousands who in times past laid down their lives on the altar of freedom for our nation or for a stranger in a foreign land that needed our help. May you, the God of all comfort, bless those who still grieve and mourn the loss of a child, a parent, a spouse, close friend, or a comrade in arms. May they all find rest in your holy presence. As we remember names written on marble and granite, today we are reminded of names that are written in our hearts. Help us to renew our resolution to honor these sacrifices with deeds more than words. And as we continue to stand in the gap located on several battlefields across the world today, may you, the unchanging and ever faithful God, continue to bless the peacemakers, just as you have done in times past, as we face the known and the unknown challenges of today and tomorrow. May we resolve again that these honored dead shall not have died in vain. May you, the Lord, bless the United States of America, her military, and may you continue to bless JRTC and our Fort Polk family. These things we pray together in your holy name. Amen.
Please be seated. The traditional rendering of honors to America's fallen heroes consists of a 21-gun salute and raising the national colors from half to full staff. In addition, the playing of taps serves to further honor those who have freely given their lives in the defense of our nation and helped liberate and ensure the continued freedom of millions of people around the world. This ceremony is significant as thousands of American servicemen and women are still deployed in harm's way at stations around the globe. Our hearts and our prayers go out to these soldiers and their families. Their sacrifices are nothing new for the United States military. In major wars and numerous conflicts throughout the world, on land, sea, and in the air, Americans in uniform have made untold sacrifices for this nation. The Global War on Terrorism Monument before you honors the service members, families, and civilians whose support and sacrifice will forever be remembered. The monument's North Tower honors active duty, reserve, and National Guard service members who were assigned or attached to units here at the JRTC in Fort Polk or were mobilized here, deployed, and lost their lives. The South Tower catalogs active duty tenant units, National Guard, and reserve units that deployed from the JRTC in Fort Polk in support of overseas contingency operations since September 11, 2001. We would like to recognize the families attending today who have lost loved ones in service to our nation. Would our Gold Star families please remain seated as everybody else stands? Please join us in a round of applause for these Gold Star families. We thank you and God bless you for your sacrifice and service to our nation. Please be seated. At this time, Brigadier General Doyle and Command Sergeant Major Henry will lay the installation memorial wreath. They are assisted by Sergeant First Class Timothy Perko, a Sergeant Audie Murphy member. This wreath represents all of our nation's fallen heroes from 1775 to the present. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's ceremony. Please give a warm welcome to the commander of the Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Polk, Brigadier General David S. Doyle.
Mayor Lewing, Mayor Allen, Mayor Duvall, Mayor Standifer, Sergeant Mayor Gates, Ms. McKenzie, Ms. Seaton, Ms. Turner, and most importantly, our Gold Star family members. Thank you for joining us here today for this very special ceremony. It's both an honor and a privilege to be here today. The 5 Gold Star families who are here distinguish us with their presence. The families of Sergeant Adam Wilkinson, Specialist Richard Emmons, Captain Everett Keaton, Specialist Derek Junk, and Specialist Zeffirino Kahunga. No one wants to be a Gold Star family member. The title, which is reserved for family members who have had service members die in the line of duty, is meant to honor both the service member's ultimate sacrifice and that of the family. We acknowledge the family's loss, their grief, and the process of continued healing. The phrase Gold Star family dates back to World War I, when military families displayed a blue star in their window for every immediate family member serving in the armed forces. The star's color would change to gold if the family lost a loved one, hence the term Gold Star family. Individually, family members who lost a loved one started being referred to as Gold Star wives or Gold Star mothers in World War II. Our Army continues to be indebted to Gold Star families as they are the legacy, the living legacy of their service members' ultimate sacrifice. Even though their loss can never be filled, their representation of our Army continues. Gold Star family members deserve to be honored for the sacrifice of their loved ones. So thank you. On behalf of a grateful nation, thank you. On behalf of all those present today, thank you. The sacrifice that you and your family has made and your selfless service that continues honors our country and our way of life. We're here on Memorial Day, which was first observed in the Civil War and called Decoration Day, because families typically remember their loved ones by decorating grave sites with flowers or flags. We still do that today across America. In fact, the soldiers from the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, place American flags at every grave marker in Arlington National Cemetery every Memorial Day. The Army still recognizes the contributions of these fallen soldiers. The loss of these brave men and women throughout our nation's history are felt as deeply in our Army as they are in families and communities across this great nation. In the Army, today, we consider our greatest asset to be our people. Our all-volunteer force is a credit to Americans and of all races and genders and creeds, and our common commitment to the defense of our nation and our love of country binds us together and unifies us, especially on days like Memorial Day. This truly goes to what is the heart of being an American. However, we all recognize that the cost of freedom is not borne equally by all Americans. The cost of freedom has been borne in many different ways. As the chaplain mentioned, it has been paid for by the battlefields and veteran cemeteries that have spread across our nation and all over the globe. It was paid for by the futures that never happened when military members made the ultimate sacrifice and lives were left unlived. It was paid for in the commitment that our families make to never forget our missing in action or those who have not returned from the battlefield. The cost of freedom is not borne equally by all Americans. But if you go around the country, you will see tributes to the service and sacrifice of our military members. Just in the United States, you can walk the battlefields of Bunker Hill, Yorktown, Bull Run, Shiloh, Stones River, Gettysburg, Chancellorsville, and many more. You can walk the fields and the forests here in central Louisiana, where the Louisiana maneuvers occurred, where soldiers trained for World War II and Korea, and later for all forms of other conflict, including the Vietnam War. If you visit these battlefields, you can see the sacrifices that are memorialized. So on Memorial Day, we do pause in a formal setting to remember the sacrifices of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, and Coast Guardsmen that have come before us and sacrificed their lives for their country. We pause to honor their service and recognize our continuing role in protecting our way of life. We pause to remember this last full measure given by our soldiers, and that our memory must continue to recognize their contributions. For our soldiers that didn't return, our family members are the emblem of what they meant, what they did, and how they stood proud for the United States of America. We also remember our wounded and those individuals who have brought back physical injuries and recognize their contributions matter as well. So while we understand the cost of freedom is not borne equally by all Americans, it is recognized by all Americans. So as I conclude, understand that what we do today is memorializing the memories of those who selflessly gave for their country, paid the ultimate sacrifice, and represent the best of our nation. We are here to present tribute to them, to their families, and to the United States of America. May God bless our military, and God bless our nation. Thank you very much.
Tragically, a total of 96 soldiers from Fort Polk have lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2003. Today, we remember the following soldiers who either served at Fort Polk or fall within Fort Polk's area of responsibility and paid the ultimate sacrifice during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom so that we might be free. We honor the memory of these heroes with a solemn roll call. From 2003, Specialist Cedric L. Lennon, Corporal Thomas Sotelo, Jr., PFC Corey L. Small, Specialist Zeffirino E. Colunga, Specialist Levi B. Kinchin, PFC Sean A. Silva, Staff Sergeant Christopher W. Swisher, Staff Sergeant Linda C. Jimenez, PV2 Ray D. Cuervo. From 2004, Staff Sergeant Craig Davis, Sergeant Patrick S. Tainch, PFC William C. Ramirez, PFC Clayton W. Henson, PFC Marquise A. Whitaker, PFC Michael A. Mora, Specialist Robert L. Dusang, Staff Sergeant Gina R. Sparks, Sergeant Andrew W. Brown, Corporal Corey M. Hewitt, First Lieutenant Christopher W. Barnett, Sergeant Craig L. Nelson. From 2005, Staff Sergeant Christopher J. Babin, Sergeant Bradley J. Bergeron, Sergeant First Class Kurt J. Como, Sergeant Huey P. Fassbender III, Sergeant Armand L. Fricky, Sergeant Warren A. Murphy, Staff Sergeant William F. Manuel, Staff Sergeant Robert W. Sweeney III. Sergeant Brett D. Swank. Sergeant Michael S. Evans II. Sergeant Christopher J. Ramsey. Staff Sergeant Jonathan R. Reed. Sergeant Seth R. Trahan. Staff Sergeant Nicholas J. Olivier. Sergeant Paul M. Heltzel. Sergeant Lee M. Godbolt. Sergeant Isaiah J. Sinclair. Second Lieutenant Clifford V. Gadsden. Sergeant Robin V. Fell. Sergeant Bernard L. Sembley II. Sergeant First Class Peter J. Hahn. Sergeant David J. Murray. PFC Christopher R. Kilpatrick. Sergeant Howard P. Allen. Corporal Jeremiah W. Robinson. Major Marino G. David Jr. Sergeant Marshall A. Westbrook. From 2006, Staff Sergeant Brian A. Lewis. Staff Sergeant Andrews J. Contreras. Sergeant Robert P. Cassine. Staff Sergeant Robert J. Chiamento. Corporal Jason A. Lucas. Sergeant Kenneth E. Bostick. Sergeant Carlos E. Purnell. Sergeant Michael D. Rowe. Corporal Andy D. Anderson. From 2007, Sergeant Jason A. Schumann. Sergeant Austin D. Pratt. PV2 Danren A. Smith. From 2008, Sergeant Timothy M. Smith. Sergeant Joseph A. Richard III. Sergeant Marcus C. Mathis. Sergeant Mark A. Stone. Specialist Jeffrey F. Nichols. Sergeant First Class David R. Hurst. PV2 Janelle F. King. Staff Sergeant Matthew J. Taylor. From 2009, Staff Sergeant Carlo M. Robinson. Sergeant Ricky D. Jones. From 2010, PFC Devon J. Harris. First Lieutenant Scott F. Milley. Sergeant Edward H. Bolin. From 2011, PFC Ira B. Lanningham. Sergeant Ethan C. Hardin. Specialist Omar Soltero. Specialist Rudolph R. Hizom. Specialist Christopher G. Stark. Staff Sergeant Chauncey R. Mays. Sergeant Travis M. Tompkins. Sergeant Keith T. Bazinski. PFC Brandon T. Pickering. PFC Jonathan M. Villanueva. Sergeant Matthew D. Hermanson. PFC Carlos A. Aparicio. PFC Cody G. Baker. Specialist Nicholas P. W. Bernier. Sergeant Raphael E. Biggie Big Eyes. Specialist Richard C. Emmons III. Staff Sergeant Michael J. Garcia. Specialist Dennis James Jr. PFC Gil I. Morales del Valle. Sergeant Christopher P. Soderlin. First Lieutenant Andres Zermino. Specialist Adrian G. Mills. From 2017, Specialist Alexander W. Misseldine. And from our local area of responsibility, Staff Sergeant Dick Lee. Sergeant Adam Wilkinson. Sergeant Stefan Smith. Sergeant Alkyla Floyd. Captain Aaron East. Staff Sergeant George Drawn. On thy graves the rain will fall from the eyes of a grateful nation. Your legacy lives on in the lives you touched while you walked among us. We will never forget. At this time, soldiers from Bravo Battery, 5th Battalion, 25th Field Artillery Regiment, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, led by 1st Lieutenant Jacob Fick and Staff Sergeant William Clifford, will fire the salute. The salute will be followed by the sounding of taps by Specialist Corbin Blake and the raising of the national colors to full staff by Sergeant Chandrika Jones, both serving with the 32nd Hospital Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we render honors. All veterans are authorized to render the hand salute. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our Memorial Day ceremony. There will be a reception for our Gold Star families at the Warrior Center immediately following. Thank you for attending, and let us never forget.